Well, football is back, and so are we. This is the Section YY8 podcast. Negative Knees here with Harb in the virtual studios. Harb, what's going on?
Not much, man. Just enjoying the nice weather. Glad football's back. Um, had a good day yesterday. It was a scorcher, or Saturday. I'm sorry. Most of you will be listening to this on Monday. It was an absolute scorcher in Knoxville on Saturday.
You can probably see it if you're watching the video. I'm still a little red here. We were sitting in the living room last night when my family got back, and I can't remember who it was, looked at me and said, "Are you all right?" I said, "Yeah, why?" And they're like, "Your face looks like reddish purple or something." It's like I did not look great, apparently. The heat got to me hard. I don't like admitting that, but because I was bragging earlier in the day, that's what I do all this weed eating for up at the farm in the summer, and then I'm over here like wilting. It was rough. It was very hot yesterday.
Yeah, we had this conversation by the truck after the game. In my opinion, which I'm a younger pup, that's the hottest I've ever been inside of Neyland Stadium. There's been a couple games that have come close to that. I remember the 2016 Florida game was really hot. Um, I want to say either Austin P or who's one of our other early games last year.
Um,
Was it
I'm
Akron?
honest. Akron, maybe.
It was one of those two games was really hot too, but I don't know if it was just how the sun decided to hit our seats or whatnot. Yesterday was unreal.
Two
I
that
got
I remember. One of them I was in college. Yeah, one of them I was in college. The 2005 Cal game, California, when Tennessee just drubbed the Golden Bears. Sorry, not 2005, 2006. And then I don't know why this one comes to mind, but the 2011 Cincinnati game. It was like a 2 or 3 o'clock kickoff, and Cincinnati was a pretty good football team. Who was their head coach?
hmm,
Butch Jones.
it was
Very,
starting tight end.
huh?
It was their starting tight end,
That would be Kelsey, wouldn't it?
Travis Kelsey.
Yeah, and that game it's on YouTube, by the way, if you want to watch it. Very kind of entertaining game. I think Cincinnati jumped out on us 7-0. But Tyler Bray and the Vols, Derrick Rogers, Justin Hunter, Michael Rivera, Tyler Bray, all those guys lit up the
Foreign
Bearcats.
Foreign Pool was that year,
Jordan Poole, yes.
or was that Ray John Neal or both?
That I don't know. I'd have to look that one up.
Okay,
But that was a very hot game. I just remember it was early afternoonish, early September. It was hot. But yeah, yesterday was really hot. So if you made it through all 4 quarters sitting out of that, I salute you. You are not a hater and a loser. You are a winner.
we are hater and losers though.
We're not haters, we're just losers. Because
Yeah,
we all left right after the half. I think I looked at Big Montana. We were standing down in the concourse and he had gotten me a water and he said, "Do you really want to go back in?" I said, "Buddy, I don't." Like, and that's rare for me to say that. For everybody that knows me knows I don't like leaving games early, but I had no desire to go back out there and sit on that 100-degree bleacher and watch Tennessee just dog stomp, donkey punch UTC. But we'll get into the UTC recap here in a minute. So, what we're going to do this season on the show, football season at least, is we'll have a rotating guest with me and Harb every week. So we'll bring back some familiar faces as we go along throughout the season. But we wanted to bring somebody on who's a loyal listener to the show, listens every week, comments most every week, has been asking to come on for a while. So we're going to have him on here in just a second. But what we'll do is We'll talk about the game yesterday. Look ahead to NC State next week. We've got 5 games to pick. Most of those games concern the Southeastern Conference, and then we'll see where the show goes from there. So, you want to bring in our guest, Harbin?
Yeah, I believe I can.
I think. Are you ready for this one? This is a good one.
Oh, this is a great guest. Like you said, long-time listener, I believe first-time caller. Uh, if you have listened to us, at least for this year, on the episodes that we answered questions from our listeners, our guest probably was the number one contributor to the questions. He is a troll. He is a good human, but more importantly, a troll. Um, his golf game, um, well, let's just say he doesn't talk smack to me about golf anymore. Without further ado, let's introduce Mr. Blake Talley to the Section YY8 podcast.
Blake's coming in. He's connecting to audio. We can't see his face. Blake, can you hear us? His mic's muted.
What a start. This is an extremely Blake Talley start.
Yeah. Oh, now he's unmuted. Blake, can you hear us? Oh, he's got a guest with him.
Yes, that's my little sister in the background there.
Blake, welcome to the podcast. How's it
Thanks
going?
for having me. Thank you.
Blake from Bainbury. What's going on?
Not much, buddy.
Bainbury. We just introduced you, told the listeners who you were. So
Sweet. What hard to say?
Nothing bad.
I said you was one of the greatest humans I've ever met.
Shucks.
And you're an incredible golfer.
Just talent, oozing with talent.
You got that right.
All right, Tally. What we're going to do here, we're going to talk about the game yesterday. Did you watch it?
Yes, I did.
Good. And then we'll talk about the game this Saturday, and then we're going to pick 5 games. I've given them to Harbin, but I'm not going to give them to you. I'm just going to put you on the spot here. Okay. And I haven't even thought about them either. I just put them together about 10 minutes ago. So, all right, Harb, I'll let you start. What do you think about the Vols drubbing of the Moccasins yesterday?
We looked more dominant than I thought we would. To be fair, I do think Chattanooga was not as good as I thought they would be. If you listen to last week's show, I figured they'd move the ball on us a little bit, maybe score once or twice. That obviously did not happen. Nico looked like an absolute surgeon. I remember I sent this text to a couple of buddies. 1 minute into the second quarter, Nico was 13 of 14 for like 235 and 2 touchdowns. Like, I acknowledge my tribal chief. After one game, after one game, we got extremely oozy, and I acknowledge my tribal chief. Yeah, that boy's him. I don't know how else to say it. Earlier this week on Pardon My Take, Tom Fernelli from CBS called Nico the best quarterback in the country. I don't know if I go that far. That might be slight hyperbole. But there's another guy, I forgot his name, 3 years ago when Caleb Williams was still at Oklahoma. He was like, hey, this guy's the best quarterback in the country. He's going to be number 1 pick. He also said the same thing about Nico. So maybe he is. I just don't want to get my hopes up that much, be 100% honest with you. But that boy looked great. And I understand it was against Chattanooga, but he made a couple throws where those throws, it wouldn't have mattered if he was playing Carter High School or if it was against the 85 Bears. There was some big time throws. That one post route to Thornton, there's 2 or 3 throws in a row on one drive in the second quarter. One was right over linebacker. Another one was a post route. I mean, just dot after dot. Decision making was great. He looked great on his feet. Dylan Sampson, it didn't, at least from my perspective, I was like, oh, he kind of had a quiet day. Then you look at the stats: 12 for 125, 2 touchdowns or 3 touchdowns, one of the two. Had 30 receiving yards too. We did exactly what we needed to do. Nobody got hurt. We dominated. We looked good. The one area that I will critique, the front seven didn't look as good as advertised. I think we only had 1 sack, which maybe they were chilling. I doubt they were. But we had 1 sack, and that might have been when the second string was in. So that's something that I would like to see improved next week in Charlotte. Get a little bit more pressure. The run defense was fine, but get a little bit more pressure. I think secondary looked fine. Which is obviously against inferior talent, but overall, I give that game an A. I really would. I mean, you win 69-3. It's hard to give it a B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's hard too, like you said, to make. You don't know. You can't really sit here and say this was great, that was great, which there was a lot of things great, but against a team like UTC, who talking to you and several others before the game, I don't think we saw a 69-3 game. It was, I think I said 48-10 or 48-13, and you said 48-20 or 17, something like that. And several others were kind of in that ballpark. No one said, oh, we're going to win by 66. I don't think nobody said that, but the takeaways for me, Nico looks like he is great as advertised. A couple of the throws you're talking about, I think, and I haven't got to go back and watch it. I'm just going off memory here. Was we were up 14-0, so I think it was like our third possession going into the second quarter because it was going down to the south end zone, or maybe it was still the first quarter. Yeah, it was. He threw, and Aaron Murray tweeted this. I actually retweeted it. Big Montana was going to get something to drink when this happened, so I was sitting next to Day Day, and that throw over the middle, 3 linebackers dropped back into coverage, and you could see, I can't remember if it was Thornton or who it was that goes over the middle. He threw that ball way before he was even out of his break, and when the receiver looked up, the ball is here. Those linebackers' eyes had to get about that big because they're dropped back in zone coverage and a ball's coming at them. They're like, oh, this is ours. It was not theirs. And then I think the very next play, he threw that post to Thornton maybe for the touchdown. Just some incredible throws, great athleticism. He can move around out of the pocket. We didn't see that a lot last year out of Joe Milton. He was more of, for some reason, a pocket passer. He wouldn't move a lot. But Nico looks like his decision making is a lot quicker than Milton's was last year for whatever reason. Say what you will. I'm not going to get in. I know Montana tried to start on us in text messages today about, I tried to tell you all this stuff. I'm not doing that. Like, we all knew what Milton was. We said he was a serviceable quarterback. He got us 8 wins in a year we needed to get Nico ready. So I thought it was good win for the Vols, good opening game, got a lot of players in. I think you mentioned it. 14 players caught a pass. That's crazy stat. Some of them just caught one, but still 14 players caught a pass. Dylan Sampson looked good. Offensive line looked good. Again, take it for what it's worth against UTC. Didn't see, like you said, much out of the defense, and UTC seemed to just run the ball quite a bit. They hardly threw on our secondary. So I was wanting to see more of that. That didn't happen much. So we're kind of going into the NC State game with a little bit of an unknown question marks on the secondary still. But overall, good game, good opening win. Tally, what'd you think?
I enjoyed watching the butt kicking, and that was definitely a butt kicking. I thought Nico looked very poised for a freshman quarterback. Thought when you have to look on your phone to see who this player is, what number he is, I think it's a good sign that your offense having a good day. So there was one throw he missed. It was a deep ball to somebody. He overthrew him by a couple steps, and I was at the Bain and Schultz residence, and everybody says, I thought Milton was gone. And everybody had a quick laugh about that for a moment. But yeah, I was very impressed with what I saw, even if it was Chattanooga.
Yeah, Chattanooga took a beating. Reagan was here yesterday saying that she felt bad for teams like that. just getting their butts kicked. And I was like, yeah, but they're getting paid a lot of money to get their butt kicked. So I think they'll gladly take it.
Yeah, and those guys will be like telling their kids and grandkids, "Hey, I played in Neyland Stadium against that guy."
Yeah.
So it's really not the end of the world. One
No.
thing that I would like to point out on, I wouldn't necessarily say disappointed, but first of all, it feels like Gaston Moore is older than I am. And I graduated college over 4 years ago. And it feels like he is the same exact player from 2021. I'm not knocking the kid. He's obviously riding this out, getting his master's for free. Heupel obviously loves him because he came from UCF. And I understand that he probably knows the playbook just as good as Josh Heupel. But I just don't think he needs to be number 2 on the depth chart. I think Merklinger, God, and I said this in the group message earlier, God forbid this happens. Knock on wood. Obviously, I'm not predicting it, and I pray to God it don't happen. But if something does happen and we have to go to another quarterback, we have a better chance winning football games with Mark Klinger than we do Gaston Moore. That's just my personal opinion. Feel free to make it yours. Yeah, that's a takeaway because Gaston Moore just did not look very good in the third quarter.
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't see any of that, and I haven't gone back and watched, which I plan on doing tomorrow. But
He had 2 straight overthrows to Brazil, however you say it.
I think it's Brazel.
And Brazel caught both of them. They were both highlight catches, but he was like a yard and a half out of bounds on one and a step out of bounds on the other. Granted, not awful throws, but you got to keep it on the damn field, you know.
Well, hopefully, like you said, hopefully that we don't ever have to find that out.
But it is crazy that it feels like he hasn't progressed whatsoever. Now, I'm not dogging the guy.
Yeah. Well, he's probably almost like another coach at this point. Like
Right.
I think
Yeah.
you mentioned in the
Yeah.
text.
I mean, he knows his role and he plays it well.
He knows his role and he shuts his mouth.
Right. But God forbid anything does happen. I think it needs to be Merklinger and not him.
What we got to do, we talked about this at the truck real quick, and then we're going to move on to NC State. Fourth quarter music, they're still playing Garth Brooks, Tally. It's unbelievable. Coach Rimmer always said Garth Brooks ruined country music, and I believe he did. We got to get with Nico playing, we got to get Jay Uso's theme, especially at night. Get your cell phone out. We got to get it. We got to get that going.
The fourth quarter song needs to be the stroke.
Yeah, and they played it yesterday, but in like the first quarter.
They did, and I'm going to be 100% honest. I think Danny White did that as like a little feeler outer to see how the crowd would do with it.
The whole stadium was doing the
the whole stadium
Billy
was
Amick
doing the skull clap. Billy Amick became a rock star this fall and summer. I would like to see that go forward. Get the damn serial killers music out of there, and don't give me Kenny Chesney either.
Yeah, I asked Harbin called him a serial killer yesterday, Tally, and I asked him like who did he kill, and Harbin said something about show me the bodies or where are the bodies. I don't know what he's talking about.
He's got a bunch of bodies hidden. We just want to see him, Garth.
Okay. Tennessee, I got some numbers for you here. We're gonna move on to NC State. I don't want to kick UTC anymore while they're down. What would they be? Our like little cousin? You think? Like they're a
lost cousin.
Yeah, they're in the university system. They're not like Vanderbilt.
They're like your cousin that you're taught with's kids.
Yeah.
Like kind of your niece and nephew, but on paper it's really not. And really they're just your second cousin. Like you love them and you're cool with them, but when it comes down to it, everybody knows who's in charge.
It's kind of like so it's like my first cousin lives in Louisiana, and she's got 2 boys, and every time I see them or around them and we play PlayStation, I just beat the dog crap out of them. They're like 8, 9 years old, something like that. So they're kind of like my UTC. or UT Martin, or let's see, ETSU might be in there. Well, they're not really in the system, but anyways, whatever. So Tennessee's going to travel to Charlotte this Saturday. North Carolina State, the Dudes Mayo. Shout out to Drew. Dudes Mayo. Duke's Mayo. Duke's Mayo Classic, whatever you want to call it. So earlier in the week, I was putting some notes together. Tennessee had a 69.9% chance to win.
Nice.
Pretty nice, right?
Yeah, nice.
So after games this weekend, and Tennessee was a 4.5-point favorite. They have now jumped up to a 7.5-point favorite. And FPI now has them at 88% chance to win the game. I'm guessing that's because we drubbed UTC and NC State struggled with, was it Western Carolina they played?
Yes.
So, I mean, they had to fight till the end of the game to win that one. So I don't know if that's going into this or not, but, you know, it's two ranked teams. I don't put a whole lot into rankings, especially early in the year, but this is a heavily favored. Tennessee's favored by over a touchdown now, according to ESPN Bet. Does that surprise you, Harb? I know last week and you and I talked, it was our most intriguing game. But does that make you feel any more confident after seeing both teams play? And I didn't get to watch NC State. I just saw highlights.
Yeah, I was about to say I didn't watch the North Carolina State game. I followed like live scoring, and I'm looking at the stats right now. I still don't think it's a pushover game. I really don't. And I don't think people need to write it off as an automatic win. However, I do think if we just play a pretty good game and do what we need to do, that we win fairly handedly. I'm not saying we blow them out, but win by like 10-14. Here's a stat. North Carolina State allowed Cole Gonzalez, who's Western Carolina's quarterback. He went 22 of 35 for 211 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he also ran for 75 yards. What's that tell you? I'm gonna go out on a limb and say he might be a hair worse than Nico, like just a hair.
Just a little.
Nico may feast in that game. Now, Western Carolina, outside of Cole Gonzalez's 6 carries for 75 yards, Western Carolina combined for 45 rushing yards. That may be something to look at. If they shut down Dylan Sampson, maybe an early test for Nico. Never know. Grayson McCall went 26 of 40, which is 318, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Their running back, Jordan Waters, 20 carries, 123 yards, 2 touchdowns, nearly identical to what Sampson did on a few more carries. I don't know. This game's probably going to be closer than it should be. I think that line should be higher than 7. I think it should be closer to like 8.5. But as long as we don't do anything extremely stupid and we just play solid football, I think we win by 10-14.
I agree. I think Tennessee's the better team, better program. Tally, what are you nervous about the game this weekend? Or are you
I wouldn't
worried
say
about
nervous.
anything?
I just don't want to overlook them. That's really the thing. Early season games, yeah, they're better than just a go through the motions game, but I just don't want to overlook them. That's what years past with other coaching staff, I feel like we have done from time to time. I haven't seen Heupel truly do that, but just don't look to the future. Focus on
they normally Tennessee under Heupel normally doesn't.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say overlook people. Now they pissed down their leg against Florida down there, and
Missouri.
They didn't play well. I mean, I don't know if you want to call it overlooking or they just didn't play well, but
I look back at the Austin Peay game from last year. I feel like they should have blew them out the water, and they struggled with them the whole game.
Yeah, I heard that on another podcast I was listening to this afternoon. They talked about that Austin P game last year. Remember we had to go for it on fourth down yesterday. We didn't have to, but they had to go for it on fourth down a couple times early on, try to get some stuff going, and they were running a lot of draws and screen plays. They just couldn't. Yeah, they were kind of sleepwalking a little bit, especially after just pounding Virginia in the first game. But I don't think this Tennessee NC State game will be like Tennessee Virginia was last year in Nashville. That Virginia team was awful. NC State's a good, like we said, they're going to win 7, 8, 9 games this year. They've been predicted to be an outside shot at the ACC title, or at least make the title game.
It may not be an outside chance after seeing how the ACC looked outside of
Yeah.
Miami.
Yeah, Miami looked good. Virginia Tech did not. How do you lose to Vanderbilt? Good grief.
That one hurt a couple parlays for me yesterday.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
I definitely had Virginia Tech in about all of them, I'd say.
Good.
Clemson couldn't score in the Playboy Mansion.
Uh-uh.
Bless Dabo's heart. Bless his heart.
Righteous Clemstones.
Righteous Clemson. I think his pay, Uncle Baby Billy saying about there's coming a payday. I think Dabo's payday is coming gone.
Oh yeah. Also, I probably should have saved this for Hater and Loser of the Week, but did you see where Dabo is no longer allowing live calls into his radio show? He's only going to take text and email questions.
Tyler from Spartanburg has won. He won the war.
Oh yeah, he won like the day of.
I need to get my uncle to find out who Tyler from Spartanburg is. We need to get him on here.
That would be amazing. I'd love that.
I wonder if he knows him. I'll have to ask that. So we're not going to pick the game just yet because Tennessee NC State is part of our 5 games of picks. So what we're going to do is we'll pick the Tennessee NC State game last, kind of like on game day. We'll do headgear. I don't have it. Actually, I do have headgear. But anyways, what we'll do is we'll pick 5 games. We're going to have some different guests on, and we'll keep them under the guest category. We'll keep that record. So Tally's going to lead us off this year with the guest picks, and we'll keep the record going along and compare them to me and Harb as we move throughout the season. But couple of things I'm interested in seeing in this Tennessee NC State game. Again, how does the defensive backfield respond? Because Grayson McCall is going to throw the ball a little bit more than UTC did. I think that's safe to say. And can the offense be as efficient as it was this past weekend I know it was against UTC, but there's still human being bodies out on the field. And of course, NC State's better than UTC, but how does Tennessee respond? Are they that efficient? If they're that efficient against NC State and put up a lot of points, put up a lot of yards, I think teams better watch out for the Volunteers. Because I'm telling you, I know it was UTC, but Nico just looked like a different type of player out there on the field. You can just tell it, the way he throws the ball, the way he moves around. And I don't think they really opened playbook up very much. I think it was just basic stuff, and he looked fantastic. It's just a total upgrade at that position. And I liked Milton. Y'all heard me talk about him on here a lot last year. Me and Harb defended him till the very end. I think he got a lot of unjust hate sent his way. Tennessee was not the Tennessee offense of old or under Heupel as we normally are, but they were good. They weren't great. But there was a lot of teams way, way, way worse than that offense. So, anyways, let's get on to the picks. We're going to start. This is a huge matchup. I would say it's a Big 12, Big 10 matchup, but it's not anymore. It's an SEC Big 10 matchup. Probably the game of the day outside Tennessee, NC State. It's number 4 Texas at number 9 Michigan. Line is Texas minus 6.5. It's jumped up 2 points in the last few days. Tally, I'll start with you. Who do you got? We're picking
Texas
against the spread, by the way. We're not just picking straight up winner.
I do definitely like Texas here. Quinier's been there in the system. You got the new quarterback from Michigan. It's hard not to pick a 5th-year guy who's led his team to the playoff. And Michigan's got to prove themselves after this championship, basically restarting. So I like Quinier's and the Longhorns.
I agree. I like the quarterback matchup a little bit better for Texas than Michigan, and Michigan struggled against Fresno State last night. I'm gonna take Texas to cover. I think they'll win by 10-14. So Tally's taking Texas. Niece is taking Texas. Who you got, Harb?
Not so fast, my friend.
Oh, the first one of the season.
Yeah, on the very first pick. Um, I don't know if Michigan wins. I think they cover, especially if they can run the ball on Texas. Kind of go on long drives, control the clock, keep the ball out of Quinn Ewers' hands. Um, the total is very low. It's set at 44.5 for this game. If that game goes under, Michigan wins. Just go ahead and mark that one down right now. I do think it goes over. I think it's a 3-point game. I think Texas squeaks by. I think Michigan should win this game. Well, Texas is better, but I think the way the game plays out, Michigan should win, but they either gag it off or Texas has some heroics at the end. I'm taking Longhorns by 3.
Okay. All right, moving on. Next game, SEC Big 12 Challenge here. Arkansas, the Hogs, travel to Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's minus 8.5. Arkansas destroyed Arkansas Pine Bluff. I think we all said on here, Harbin, that Arkansas is one of the probably 2 or 3 worst teams in the SEC this year. I don't know if your opinion changed any on that or not, but we'll start with you. Who you got?
I don't know. This game's really interesting. I think Arkansas may be a little bit better than what we give them credit for, but they also played a team that couldn't line up against Carson Newman. Um, for some reason, I don't know why, I like Arkansas to cover. I don't know why. Um, I don't know how good Oklahoma State is. If you remember last year with a lot of the same players, they started off really, really slow, and they won like their last like 7 or 8 games of the season, if I'm not mistaken. Um, I don't know who wins this game, but I think it's a 1-score game. So under that math, I think you got to take the Hogs to cover.
Tally, who you got?
I think this game's gonna be a true pillow fight, if you will. But at the same time, I feel like SEC still is pretty true to the SEC. I like the Arkansas here, so I'll go with
Okay.
them.
I'm going to take. So Tally's got Arkansas. I'm going to not so fast, my friends here. I'm taking Oklahoma State. If this was at Arkansas, I might take Arkansas to cover, but I think this could be, kind of a tight game for a while, and then Oklahoma State pulls away. I don't think Arkansas is very good, and I didn't see him play Pine Bluff last week, but it's like the Tennessee UTC game. There's only so much you can take away from it, and the highlights I saw, Arkansas had guys just running with nobody around him. I was like, is Pine Bluff even out there on the field? I mean, it was crazy, but I'll take Mike Gundy and the Cowboys at Boone Pickens Stadium. So
Just don't let him drive anywhere after the game.
no, no,
Or Ollie Gordon.
no. And that's all right, he said. It's all right. We've all done it.
Hey, we've all done it 1,000 times.
What's the big deal?
So crazy.
Next game. We're going up to Kroger Field, Harbin. South Carolina at Kentucky. Kentucky is minus 9.5. Tally, I'm gonna start with you. Who you got?
I don't like picking Kentucky for anything, but I'm gonna have to pick Kentucky here. I don't think they're a horrible team. They're a middle pack SEC team, and I just don't think Beamer ball is what it is. So give me the Wildcats.
I'm gonna take the Wildcats as well. Shane Beamer might be in trouble in South Carolina if it's. So I mean, even there was a guy. I think it was. I can't remember. I have to look it up. Average Carolina fan or something on Twitter said, I'm starting to believe that South Carolina did cheat a couple years ago. I mean, they really struggled against who'd they play yesterday?
Old Dominion,
Old Dominion. And no disrespect to Old Dominion, but
the Monarchs.
I had a South Carolina fan here at the house yesterday, and Melody, and she was like, Beamer just cannot get players in here. I was like, yeah, because he sucks. He's terrible. He's a weirdo. He's weird. They want to call JD Vance weird. Beamer's weird.
It was like cold over there for 3 weeks, and after that, it just fell off a hill, a mountain, if you will, actually.
Probably Mountain.
Yeah.
Harb, who you got?
I watched a little bit of that Kentucky game, which I don't ever give them slack, but that game did finally kick off at like 11 o'clock last night.
It was late.
Yeah. They win like 38-6 or 38-0 or whatever it was.
Something like that.
I'll give them a little bit of slack. They had to wait a long time to play. I watched the majority of the second half of that South Carolina Old Dominion game. South Carolina is the worst team in the SEC.
Really?
Like, yeah, well, I mean, the easy answer is Vandy, but how they beat Virginia Tech. So
I still can't get over that.
Based on week 1, you can't say Vandy. So
no, not after week 1, you can't.
No, my answer, even though South Carolina won, I think they're worse than Florida. It would be extremely hard to justify taking South Carolina plus 9.5. So for that reason, I think Kentucky wins by 2 touchdowns.
So what you're saying is if we had power rankings, which that's kind of a good idea, maybe we should start doing that next week. If we had power rankings, you would have South Carolina at number
16.
What are we up to? 16 now?
Yep. I would have them at 16. Probably Florida at 15, just based on how everybody looked the first week. Arkansas is in that weird range just because they played Union County. I still think they're in the bottom third, but after this week, we could be singing another song. So
figured you'd throw some shade on Austin East.
Yeah, they're really bad. That one kind of hurts to see almost, just from how good they've been in the past. Like it's definitely a fall from grace for the Roadrunners.
For those that may be listening outside of the viewing area, as they used to say, Carter Hornets played Austin East last Friday night, and it was a drubbing. I mean, it was 28-0 in the first quarter. Carter ended up winning 47-0. I saw Tally there. I had a hot mic one time. Referee had a hot mic. We're still working out the kinks here with the new sound system, but Austin East is bad. They're bad, and that's crazy to say. Like years ago, they were not. I don't know what's happened over there, but so we're all taking Kentucky. Can't believe it. Begrudgingly, we're taking Kentucky. All right, next up. This is an interesting game, Harbin. The Bulldogs of Mississippi State are traveling out to Arizona State, playing in the stadium where Tennessee won the national title in January 4th, 1999. It looks a little different now. But they're traveling out to take on the Sun Devils. Late kickoff Saturday night. I believe it is at 10:30 on ESPN. As of right now, the stadium is Mountain American Stadium. Used to be the Sun Devil Stadium. Arizona State -4, over under 57.5. Tally, who you got?
I think Mississippi State's were pretty bad this year, so I'd have to take Arizona State, and I don't think it's going to be close.
I'm going to agree with you on that one. Arizona State's ranked. Again, I don't put a whole lot into rankings, but I just don't. From what I've read about Mississippi's, I'm kind of surprised this is -4. But what I've read about Mississippi State, they're not very good. FPI has maybe it is going to be a close game. FPI has Arizona State has 56.7% chance to win. So a little over 50-50, which kind of surprises me a little bit. Maybe it's the SEC It just means more coming out for Mississippi State. But I think at -4 at home, I got to take the Sun Devils. Who you got, Harb?
Well, I've been kind of going back and forth on this one because last night Arizona State played Wyoming, um, and they were only 6.5 point favorites, and they won 48-7. Um, may just been a bad line. You never know. Uh, Not going to pretend like I watched a single second of Mississippi State play Eastern Kentucky. They won that game by 50. Um, Hard to put a lot of stock into that. I feel like I don't know. I'll have to see what the public bets, but for some reason, I'm leaning Mississippi State. I don't know why. Um, I don't know how bad Wyoming is. Uh, didn't watch any of that game either.
I didn't watch
Guts,
many. I only saw a few games this weekend.
guts,
Shockingly.
guts telling me Mississippi State maybe to win straight up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes you got to go with your gut. So Tally and I are taking the Sun Devils. Harb's taking the Bulldogs. Okay. All right. The main event, fellas. Tennessee versus NC State. I haven't seen who the home team is in this. I don't know if it's us or them, or the designated home team. So Tennessee, as of right now, they were 4.5. Now they're 7.5 point favorites. The over under, I've lost it here, is something.
Really?
Yeah. Go figure. It's 59.5. Bank of America Stadium, Charlotte, North Carolina. Harbin, I'm gonna start with you. Does Tennessee go over there and take care of business? I think you kind of previewed your pick earlier. Does Tennessee win and do they cover?
It depends on how we run the ball. Well, there's a few factors at hand. I think the main key, just like it is in 98% of football games, is to run the ball. Um, you have a freshman quarterback. You're going away from home. It's not a road game, but it's away from home. Um, you got to be able to get 4 yards on the ground when you have to help out your freshman quarterback. I think that's extremely paramount in this matchup. Like we talked about last week on the season preview, North Carolina State always has a good defense. I feel like they still kind of do. I feel like it's a pretty good test. Another thing is, I'd like to see for our front seven to play a little bit better, especially in pass rush than they did this past weekend against UTC. Grayson McCall is much better than Chattanooga's quarterback. I'm going to have to get back there and get pressure because we know nothing about our secondary. So the easier we can make it on our secondary, especially if we get up in the first half and make them throw the ball more, it's going to be extremely important to make life on our secondary as easy as we can. With all that being said, I think this is a pretty good game. I really do. Uh, I love Grayson McCall. He's at Coastal Carolina. I think he's an absolute gamer. It may not be pretty, but he's 95% of the time going to put his team in a spot to where they can win a football game, whether if they pull it off or not. That is what it is. I think Tennessee wins this game by 10-14. I think we cover. But another thing is if we go over the total of 59.5, we 100% cover. I trust our front seven enough despite what I saw against Chattanooga. I don't think North Carolina State will run down our throat. I like the Vols cover. 2-possession game.
Okay. I like Tennessee to cover. I don't think it's a blowout, but I think Tennessee controls most of the game. They've got NC State, kind of scrambling a little bit. But again, I think it's one of those things where Tennessee's up 10-13 for a lot of the game. They're kind of controlling the pace, the tempo. NC State's probably going to score some, but I think Tennessee kind of pulls away late and cover. They're going to cover. They're going to win, and I think they might win by 17-20, to be honest. So I got the Vols in this one. I like them to cover and then some. Tally, what you got?
I think the Vols for sure cover. I don't think there's a defense in this country besides Georgia that can slow down our offense. So I truly feel like I wouldn't say we're going to score at will, but say we're going to score a good amount. The still got question marks in the defense, but I just see us scoring way too many points for them to keep up. The over definitely hits as well.
Oh, okay.
So we got a for sure and a definitely. Vegas is doomed. I mean,
They're screwed now.
I even put the line out there if that's
Yeah.
enough.
They're screwed now.
Oh my
Vegas
God.
don't. What were they thinking?
They're tearing down the buildings as we speak.
So, so it must have been Trump's casino. Didn't it go under or something? One up there in New Jersey? Or that's what the Democrats try to say. I don't know. I hadn't looked that one up. Or maybe that was his Trump University or whatever it was. I can't keep up. So we all got the Vols. So it'll be a big test for Tennessee, kind of the big coming out party. You might say not that kind of coming out party, but I mean it'll be a big test, big eye opener for Tennessee. I mean NC State didn't really play anybody worth a flip either. So kind of both teams first big test of the year. But I'm interested to see how it turns out. I mean, this is ABC national stage. Nico, if Tennessee, like we said, Harbin, a few weeks ago, if Tennessee wants to be who they are or want to be, they got to win games like this. And honestly, win a game like this and make it look convincing. I'm not saying you have to beat them by 66, but go out there and win by 2 or 3 touchdowns and show the nation that this program is taking that next step, to compete for a playoff spot. And that's a great opportunity for them because then the week after they got a cupcake and then they go to OU. So, got to take care of business this week. Got to win the game. So I think we all got them winning, which is great. Good vibes.
JWTDG.
JWTDG. And we're getting stickers ready for maybe not Kent State, but maybe some other games. But
I'm gonna need one of those.
We'll have them soon.
I need one of those.
Yeah, we'll get you one.
Thank you.
And they're usually game specific. I mean, they don't have the team on them, but I keep them if we have a big win and put them on my cooler. It's kind of like, Ohio State, they put the Buckeye leaves or whatever on their helmets. I put JWTDG stickers on my cooler with the score and the date on it. We've got a few good ones on there. Bama, Florida, Texas A&M last year, South Carolina last year. So I got 4 good ones on there. I don't know what happened to my JWTDG sticker from the Orange Bowl a couple years ago. I lost it somewhere. Don't know what happened. It's somewhere down there in South Florida. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you saw the pictures, but we get up to our seats yesterday and look down in the row in front of us. Big Section YY8 sticker still there from last year. It accidentally got stuck on the seat last year, and I said, well, we'll just leave it and see if it's here next year. By God, it was there. Looked like somebody tried to peel it up, and it didn't come off. So
diamonds are forever, and so is the Section YY podcast.
Yes. All right. We're going to go move to the last segment here. Tally, we'll let you go last so you can think on it, but we do haters and losers. You know this. Do you have one? Do you have one?
I do. I got
good. Harbin, I'm going to start with you, and then I'll go, and then we'll go with Tally. Or do you want me to go first?
I would like for you to go first.
Okay.
Research.
And I do, before we do hater and loser, I'm going to give a shout out to Nick Bain. He listened to the show finally and thanked me for not calling him a hater and loser for me striking him out at the alumni game. But Bain hit a home run the other night in softball, and then he pinch ran for me. So shout out Nick Bain.
What I
But
got?
Bane's been cussing me out in text messages because I just send him tweets of how bad the Chicago White Sox are. I mean, it's like a blooper reel of how bad that team is, and I get a FU, just all kinds of just terrible language thrown my way. It's unbelievable. Bane, I'm just passing it along. It's not me saying it, so don't get mad at me. He did say, "Niece, I know they're bad. They are bad. They are so
Horrible,
bad." Did you see the other
horrible.
night the catcher threw a ball down to second base? Right before the inning starts, coming down, and the dang second baseman wasn't even looking, hit him right in the side of the head. They're so bad. And there was one game, they had a day game, and there was literally 45 people in the stands. I think somebody counted maybe 63. The stadium holds 40,000. There was literally it was worse than a Smokies game. Hell, I think I've been to Carter High School baseball games where there's more people than was at that. I think there was more people at our alumni game than there was at that game the other day. But anyways, my hater and loser of the week, low hanging fruit, Harbin. It's not Joe Biden, but it's his vice president, Kamala Harris. Just a total liar, total loser, total hater. Um, it's a disgrace what she is. I can't stand her. We were flying the Trump flag proudly yesterday. Actually, she is one of my haters and losers, but the other hater and loser is the guy at the tailgate. You didn't see this, Harbin, but Big Montana and I got back to the truck, and my flag, the pole had fallen over, and it was kind of hanging down. And this guy or this lady comes up to me and said, "Hey, our battery's dead. Do you have any jumper cables?" So I went up to the truck and got my jump box, and we were helping this guy. This guy was nice. They're from Hawaii, and we were talking a little bit. And I said, "We're tailgating up here every year, so if you see us, come up and say hey or whatever." And he said, "Oh, you're up there with that guy and that flag?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Oh, I wouldn't trust him." Well, Big Montana was standing right up there next to the truck. And I said, "Oh, well, that ain't his flag. That's mine." And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." So I take it from that he's not a fan of Trump. So if you're not a fan of Trump, you're a hater and a loser in my book. So that guy, I don't know his name, but he's a hater and a loser. And he needs to wake up. Harbin, who you got?
Um, Mine's also low hanging fruit. I'm not getting into the political circus, but I am getting back into the Southeastern Conference football circus. My hater and loser of the week is Billy Napier. Um, he may not see mid October, especially with the schedule they have. It's almost bad enough to where I almost feel bad for the guy. But I don't know if Miami looked really good or if Florida looked really bad. I think it was a little more Miami looked that good. I do think Cam Ward is what that program's been missing for a long time. But still, you have an in-state rival at home in the Swamp, and you get beat like you get beat by 30. Like, have some pride. Like, it's not like Georgia came to town. I mean, Miami's good, but my God, have a little bit of pride, boys. Um, yeah, I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. Billy Napier and the University of Florida, haters and losers.
So here, real quick, Tally. Florida's schedule. So they had Miami. They got Samford coming up this week. And then they are hosting Texas A&M. Don't get no easier. Then they're at Mississippi State. Then they host Central Florida. And then they're at Tennessee. Then they host Kentucky. And then Georgia. And the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. And then they're hosting LSU, hosting Ole Miss at Florida State. So I don't know I don't know that they beat Texas A&M. So that's 1-2.
A&M didn't look very good, to be fair.
Yeah, I hadn't seen Mississippi State, but let's see what the FPI says on that one. It says Mississippi State 60% chance to win that game. So it doesn't sound like they're going to win that one. So they're staring at 1-3 in their first 4 games before they play Central Florida. So Central Florida game is they're 58% favorites to win that one. They theoretically could be 1-5 coming to Knoxville. Does he make it to Knoxville with that record?
If he's 1-5 coming to Knoxville, yes. And if we win by 17 or more, he gets fired that Monday.
Yeah, Zay was asking me, he was texting me last night, and I was like, buddy, I don't really know, how long he lasts, because it depends on how things go. I mean, he could go 2-2 in his first 4. I don't think they're firing him then, but if he goes, or 1-4, 1-5 to start, I mean, it is like scalding hot.
It's just crazy to me that they ran off Dan Mullen after 3 straight New Year's Six Bowls just to hire Sunbelt Billy.
Yeah.
Like they thought they had it bad when they were winning 10 games a year. And now look at them.
Tally, who's your hater and loser? I hope this is a good one.
I'm going to have a little more fun with this one. I was at the Rosewood Casino, as they like to call it, the Bain and Schultz residence, for the game yesterday. Brett Stanton shows up with his son Marshall, who is my hater and loser of the week.
Marshall is?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
He challenged Joel Wesley Schultz to a match on college football. They did it at halftime. This was before the game started, when all the lip started. He lit into him the whole time. They go in there. Wes dog walks him. Absolutely dog walks him. Apparently, this is a rematch. Apparently, Marshall got the best of him, but you don't somebody else's house with all that lip.
And he went on the road and took a beating.
I think he was Ohio State. Wes took the Tennessee Volunteers, and it wasn't pretty for the Buckeyes.
Marshall, a hater and loser of the week. Incredible. I did not see that one coming. I like it though. A little bit different there. Marshall, you are a hater and a loser, but we do love you. If you're listening. Hopefully Brett lets you listen to it.
Need toughen this next generation
up. Tougher, Marshall. Come on, man.
Toughen? Oh.
Yeah, bow that neck when you're on the road. You got to go in there with a quiet demeanor, a little confidence.
Yeah.
You can't go in there.
Was breaking.
Marshall, you got to be less like your father and be more like your mother.
Yeah. Yeah. Be more like a Griff, not a Stanton. No offense to the Stantons. Love the Stantons.
All offense to the Stantons.
All offense. All right. Harbin. I've got somebody outside my door here giggling and laughing back here. So you brought up Scotty Scheffler earlier this year. He just won the Tour Championship, $62.2 million this year. Do you have anything to walk back about your Scotty Scheffler comments?
No, not at all. I never said anything bad about Scotty Scheffler.
No, you didn't, but you kind of questioned him a little.
I pointed out back in July that Xander Schauffele had won as many majors in 2.5 months as Scotty Scheffler had in his whole career. That statement is still a factual statement. The Tour Championship is not a major. It's not. It's not even close. Especially with this shitty format they do. They give us a match play bracket. Up it to 32 guys and make a match play bracket and give us that. The viewership would be much higher. With all that being said, Scotty Scheffler had one of the best seasons that we've seen, at least in recent memory. What did he end with? Not including the gold medal, he finished with what, 7 wins?
I think 8. 8 wins, I think.
8 wins, the Masters, the Players, the Memorial, RBC Heritage.
Gold medal.
Tour Championship. The dude's Terminator. I said that back in March, I think it was. Yeah, he's an animal. But no, I do not walk back any of my statements about Scotty Scheffler. And by the way, he gained all of those accomplishments on top of having a child and getting arrested this year.
He's a criminal.
He's a criminal, he's a new father, and he's the best damn golfer we've seen since Tiger Woods.
He's good.
The
I
PGA,
love watching him play.
the PGA Instagram like listed all his accomplishments throughout the year, and I was fully expected the mug shot at the very last slide. It just let me down.
Wild.
Oh,
All right.
incredible. Ted Scott, Scotty Scheffler's caddy, which obviously inflation has a lot to do with this, but this is just fun. Ted Scott made more money this season than Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus won in their career from playing golf.
It's crazy. A caddy. Very good caddy.
Also, as a caddy, if Ted Scott's name was on the money list for PGA Tour players, he would have finished top 40.
Wow.
Assuming him and Scotty Scheffler agreed on the industry norm of 10% of his winnings.
I bet Scotty's going to throw him a little bonus in there on top of that 10%.
Most of those big guys are on salary, and if they win or finish high at a major or something, they get a bonus.
And I don't know about him, but a lot of them have their own sponsors as well.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, if any caddy in the world is going to have a sponsorship, it's going to be Ted Scott.
It's got to be somebody that's going to be on TV a lot. I mean, Scotty Scheffler is going to be on TV a lot. So, real quick before we get out of here, I want to give out a few shout outs. First one is YY8 Refugee. Saw him this weekend. He came by the tailgate. Big Jeff Harbin. I'm sorry. Jeff Burton. Shout out Jeff Harbin. Jeff Burton. I saw Harbin's name on the screen. Jeff Burton stopped by the tailgate yesterday, unannounced, unexpected. I look up and there he is, the man, the myth, the legend, Jeff Burton, or his Twitter account, Chicken on a Chain. He was there. Let's see, who's my other shout out? Oh, shoot. I just forgot it. Well, maybe I'll remember it here in a second. I had 3 of them and I forgot one of them out of the 2. So maybe I'll remember it for next week. But yeah, shout out YY8 Refugee. Good to see you. Jeff Burton, very good to see you. He said he's turned some people onto the podcast. They must not have listened last week, but because their numbers were low. But yeah, shout out to those 2 guys. Y'all got any shout outs before we head out? No.
No.
Nobody.
No, we are focused on the Wolfpack. Don't turn your back on the Wolfpack.
Probably play that music a lot on Friday toward the end of the week to get fired up. NWO.
I think it needs to be the outro music.
I can plug it in.
Yeah,
I'll work on that when I'm getting the editing going.
That or NPO.
NPO, our new theme song. Well, I think it's changed in the last 24 hours. It was NPO.
No, it hasn't. NPO.
It's still NPO. Okay. So if you haven't listened, look up NPO. Actually, maybe you shouldn't look it up.
If you're above the age of 18, look up the song NPO. Yeah.
Marshall, if you're listening, do not listen to NPO.
There you go.
Brett, don't allow it. Talley, we appreciate you coming on. First,
thanks for having me.
How does it feel to be the first honorary guest of the season?
I'm honored. I really am. I feel like my appearance has been a little overdue with all the comments I have towards Harb. I was Harb hater for a long time on YouTube. Now it's Harb respecter.
Oh, you did? I did see that. You did change your name.
I flipped it over after I got my tail end, ripped a new one, you could say.
Respect is earned, not given. So
you got that right.
Virtual handshake.
We'll have to get a match going sometime. We need to film it like the Bob Does Sports guys. I think that would be interesting.
I will say when the match happened, the next podcast, I figured he'd bring up the comment about how do you replace the hosels on your irons. I thought he'd mention that one because it was rough. I need to get them.
Where'd y'all play at? Ruggles Ferry? Dandridge. So we went over to Ruggles on a few of us on Monday. Listener to the show, Nick Bernard was there. 2 Burkhart brothers were there. and myself. We had 11 birdies between our foursome, which was kind of wild. Bernard had 4, I had 3, Burke had 2, Catlin had 2. So we abused Ruggles Ferry last Saturday. It took a beating.
Wow.
We bloodied its nose a little bit.
Slobber knocker.
Scores were low. I think Bernard shot 74, I shot 79, Burke shot 76, Catlin shot 80. So all right, well, we're gonna get out of here. It's Sunday night. We're recording. There's football on. The Southern 500 from NASCAR's on. Big crown jewel race there. I'll be. I don't know when we'll record next weekend, Harbin. I'll be in Atlanta Sunday night. We're me and my dad and a couple others are going to the NASCAR race in Atlanta Sunday afternoon. So we may push it back a little bit, but we'll be down there in Atlanta watching some Cup racing. Winston Cup should be fun. Hopefully the weather cools off a little bit, but I doubt it will. But we'll be back next week, talk about NC State, and then look ahead to the big Kent State game at Neyland Stadium here in a couple of weeks. But Harb, good to see you as always.
Good
Tally,
to see you,
thanks for coming on. Keep
Thanks
sending in
me.
comments.
I promise I'll be commenting.
You give us some plenty of content, so we appreciate it.
I'll try.
Everybody have a very fun and safe Labor Day.
Yes. If you're at the lake listening to this, I'm going to try to get this out Monday morning. If you're at the lake listening to us or just hanging out, have a happy Labor Day. Stay safe. Get ready for
Don't labor too hard.
Don't labor too hard. If you have to work, you're not a hater and a loser. Harb will be working on Labor Day. Sad and unfair. All right. I'm going to get out of here for Harb and for our guest Tally. We'll see you next week here on the Section YY8 podcast.